Hey, it's Andreas. I've been investing for over 10 years. In today's video, let's talk about the American tariffs on the world. What do they mean? What does the financed textbook say? But also why we should take that information with a bit of a grain of salt in this case. In finance theory, in macroeconomics, we talk about tariffs, we talk about how they create something called dead weight loss. There's a simple diagram to illustrate this with the supply and the demand curve with both nations trading, usually simplified to show two nations, the aggregate output of a certain good. Country A can produce the good for $100 a unit, country B can produce it for $300 a unit, and then where the line of supply and demand intersects, we will see the traded volume and at what price it will be traded. It will be somewhere in between, as the line tends to be, a curved one. It gets additional cost per unit after a while, but if we scale up enough, well, then it's going to be cheaper, but then we also increase the supply. So it's just a very basic supply and demand diagram that we use for international trade. It's a course in its own called International Economics, where we look at international trade and where we calculate these dead weight losses. So a lot of people who studied finance and economics, they will look at the tariffs that are being suggested from America, rightly pointing out that this will not only reduce total amount consumed by people, in the countries, but it will also make it more expensive for each of the two countries. Simple model only uses two countries, and that's the whole purpose. It's to simplify and explain interactions in, whether it's for stocks, whether it's for trade between nations, whatever it might be. I hope it makes sense so far. Now, why should we take this with a grain of salt? Well, we make a lot of assumptions in these models and we simplify it a lot. Nowhere in this finance theory are we talking about that one of the countries doing this trade has the global reserve currency of the world, where we need to settle all international trade in this currency, sort of a hegemon, and you need this to settle international trade. We need the dollar today. That's not mentioned in the finance textbook. And America, they wield a lot of power by having this world reserve currency. The French call it an exorbitant privilege, and indeed it is. Other economists, they estimate that it's about 25% cheaper for the American consumer to consume goods as a result of them wielding the power of the global reserve currency. Let's do some examples here. For example, Sweden, my home country. We had a little website called the Pirate Bay being hosted in Sweden. It was not very popular over in America. And they first said, take that down, Sweden. And we said, no way, America. We have something called freedom of speech here, and we allow people to express themselves, and we can't do that. All right. Then Hollywood lobbies the government a bit, and the government goes back to Sweden, the big government of America, and they say, take that website down, or we will impose sanctions on you. Trade sanctions, and boom, a police raid just busts in and takes down the servers very, very quickly. There's a reason for that. We need dollars to do international trades, and if we're sanctioned on our trade, we're gonna get less dollars, and it's gonna be a disaster for the Swedish economy. A lot of power, just the mere threat of tariffs made the government throw this free speech out the window. Look what happened to Russia, for example, when they tried to do some bad stuff. Well, they got their dollar assets frozen. This scared a lot of other countries as well, and we're seeing some countries try to trade in other currencies. However, it's not really that strong yet. But the thing here is that the more America uses its power, the more scared the rest of the world is gonna be and try to find another way to trade, perhaps. Anyways, that's been it, talking about the theory here between the American tariffs. And then we also had to explain why they work so effectively, because they are not the textbook example. They are the reserve currency of the world. They have this financial hegemon, very, very powerful player, and they can throw their weight around and bully smaller nations like Sweden, for example. That's been it for this video, and as always, hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now. Bye bye.